Welcome to Inspire and Move, the show that inspires you to create, connect, and grow. I'm going to bring you meaningful conversations, aha moments, and all the motivation you need to up-level every part of your life. I'm Ali Aruda, founder of Inspire and Move, and your personal hype girl. I've gone from fashion school to celebrity stylist to corporate marketing to brick-and-mortar entrepreneurship with my husband, each time learning incredible lessons how to pivot, reimagine, and implement the steps to become successful. I'm passionate about inspiring others to live their best life, a life of joy. We have the power to design a life that we love, because life is too short not to. The best part is that you weren't meant to do this alone. If you feel like you are meant for more, let me ride shotgun with you, and together, let's get you to where you want to go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Inspire and Move podcast. I am your host, Ali Aruda, and I am back in the studio today, and I am so excited to welcome today's very special guest, Olivia Marie. She is a mentor and a coach, and she is someone that I have actually followed for many, many years on Instagram. And before we hit record, we were just sort of chatting about what it is that you did previously when I first came in your little Instagram orbit to where you are now. And I am so excited to chat all things mindset, nervous system. The day that we're recording this is August 8th. So it's 0808. We're in the Lionsgate portal for manifestation, which I feel like is very aligned to go deep and all the things we're going to chat about. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So excited to have you. So on that note of chatting about, where you are now, and we're going to dive into the world of nervous system regulation, which for me feels like a really hot topic, something that I'm really aware of for myself. But I want to go back to what it was that you were doing before this, because before we hit record, we were talking about your abundant amount of YouTube subscribers and what you were doing in the world of health and nutrition and fitness and wellness. So talk to us about what Olivia did previously to where we're going to go for what you're doing now.
It feels like eons ago, but yeah, like you were saying, my background is in health, wellness, like all those kind of trendy things back in like 2020, before that. And I went to naturopathic schools. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. So the background really comes from a passion with health and wellness and wanting to live well, wanting to get to the root cause of symptoms. I am someone who struggled with a lot of health symptoms in the past, from chronic fatigue to anxiety to like PMS, like you name the symptom, I probably had it. And through going to naturopathic school and really falling in love with like the body and natural healing and like, eating well, nourishing my body, all of this stuff, it really awakened this passion in me to really help other women do the same. So I graduated from naturopathic school, started helping, other women with their bloating, their hormones, their energy levels, all of those things. And I quickly realized that there was a very common thread between all of these women that wasn't being talked about. Why was it that we are on all these supplements, we're taking all these things, but we don't feel well still? Even myself, I had cut gluten. I was gluten-free, dairy-free, seed oil-free. I had done every detox, every parasite cleanse, anything you can think of, IV treatments, you name it, I did it. But why was I still not well? Why was I still having to manage my system? Why is it that I needed all of these things and I would still sometimes have a flare up? I would still not feel my best. I'm like, something's not adding up. Like the math ain't mathing here. Mm-hmm. And I'm very much someone where I don't believe that I was just going to have to suffer that way. I don't believe I'm just going to have to manage my symptoms. So I was like, all right, there must be something else going on here. And I'm still all for, like healthy eating, treating your body well, and all of these things, and they're beneficial. But what I was realizing is that the physical body was being, taken care of, but the emotional, energetic body wasn't being looked at. And so that's where my love of nervous system came in. And I felt like it was like a cloud, parting moment where I was like, oh my God, the nervous system is tied to everything. The nervous system runs your physical symptoms, how you feel, your business, the money you make. I'm like, everything is tied to nervous system. And I kind of went into the whole trauma rabbit hole and where we get trauma. I'm like, oh, it's because I had this trauma from my childhood. It's because I had repressed emotions like this. It's because I was also a people pleaser. Like all of these things started happening. And once I started addressing the nervous system roots, my symptoms went away. I no longer had chronic fatigue. I no longer had PMS. I no longer had migraines. I no longer had all these things. And I was like, oh my God. So that's kind of what I was doing before, right? Is really helping women with the bloating, their hormones, and all of that kind of physical stuff, because it's absolutely crazy. And I'm so happy that, now it's becoming more of a trend. You see a lot more people talking about the emotional and energetic roots of symptoms. But back in 2020, when I was doing that 5 years ago, it was like a little taboo. It was like people are like, this is crazy, this is insane. And I was like, no, it's real. And like now you see everyone talking about it.
Oh my gosh, Kim, I'm so excited to dive into this. So when you were back in 2020 and you were helping women more from the hormones, bloating, would you do a lot of work surrounding the gut and gut health? Because I feel like I have heard over the years, people talk a lot about maybe what they really mean is to be chatting about the nervous system, but they're really talking more specific to gut health and what, manifests in the gut and how that can transpire into, well, I say trauma, but it's really actually trauma from the past versus something that's happening in the moment, but that things that are happening in the gut that are affecting you in your day-to-day life or your relationships, but perhaps that has actually really been more so the nervous system speaking out.
Well, a lot of your nervous system is in your gut, right? A lot of the serotonin you make, you probably heard that like, oh, most of your serotonin is made in the gut. That influences mood, anxiety, depression, and all those things. And you have a lot of your nerves in the gut. So it's very much tied to the gut because a lot of your nervous system is made and housed in the gut. Like your vagus nerve runs through there. So a lot of that is influenced and correlated because of that. And a lot of the repressed trauma or repressed emotions end up getting stored in the gut as opposed to like your right elbow. It's going to like show up in those places, not necessarily like your feet or your elbow, though it can. You're more likely to manifest it in some of those other areas.
And so when you dove into this work, I would imagine that you probably felt really fascinated as soon as you started because you were relating to it for yourself personally.
Like I said, my life was changed. I was like, oh my God, where has this been all my life? And why isn't anyone talking about this?
Yeah.
So that's where I really started. I was getting online. I was doing Instagram lives and I was explaining to everyone, like, I had just discovered like water. And I was like, guys, like, this is it. This is it. Everyone needs it. And it's so true. And I think it really also came from such a genuine place because I had struggled for so long. And as someone who'd spent thousands and thousands of dollars and done all the protocols and felt so defeated, but at the same time wasn't going to settle for not having an answer, I was like, oh my God, guys, like I cracked the code. I found the answers. I would scream it from the rooftops. And my business, yes, became wildly successful from that because so many other people were experiencing the same thing, right? They had tried all those things. They had done the supplements. And like I said, there is a place for supplements. And even then I was prescribing supplements. I'd have a little protocol, but a lot of it was so much emotional. And the thing is, and I even say this to this day, their nervous system always wins. That is like a motto I've said for 5 years. So you can eat all the right food. You can take all the supplements. You can cold plunge. You can red light. You can meditate. You can do all the things. But if your system is so dysregulated, I'm sorry, but none of that matters. None of that sticks. I was also working with a lot of weight loss, and I know like you're in the fitness space. There were so many women who were eating clean, not losing weight. And I was like, why? Right? Their bodies don't feel safe. They're undernourishing, they're undereating, 1,200 calories a day. Their bodies don't feel safe to actually let go of the weight. Okay, why don't we feel safe? All right, what's going on in your relationships, in your environment, in your nervous system that's not letting you feel safe so that you can drop the weight? And I started to see this in so many different areas. So it's really clear, like, oh my God, it comes up everywhere. And the system will always win. And that's where I feel like so many women were frustrated because there are so many women doing all the things, right? And I'm sure you've met them. They're eating clean.
She is here, present.
Yeah. They're working out, they're doing all these great things for their body, and it's like, well, why is it not working? And it's just like the nervous system will always override everything. It's a primal response. It will always win. So when you address that first, then all of the other incredible things that you're doing for your body, like moving it, eating right, doing all, work so much better. It amplifies that.
So you had said to me before we hit record that you effectively made a pivot overnight in your business.
Yeah.
How did that feel for you? I'm going to guess exciting because I feel your excitement right now talking about the nervous system and I'm excited. But what did that pivot overnight look and feel like for you?
So on February 2nd, 2023, and it's funny, I had to remember the year, but I know it was February 2nd because it was a very big decision. I just realized that while I love helping women with like bloating and hormones when it comes to nervous system, what I really love is helping entrepreneurs go to greater heights with their nervous system as it comes to like personal power and vision and legacy and making a lot of money. And so I had just honestly gotten bored. It's not that, obviously I'm really good at it. It was working well, but it wasn't fulfilling like it used to be. And I think it was also, I had been so far removed from it. Like it wasn't something I struggled with. And so I think the original high of helping people, I'm like, oh, I've kind of evolved past this. Like I want to do, what's after that, right? And what I was realizing, I was like, all right, we've cleared the bloating, the hormones, the thing, we've balanced that. Okay, now what? And so I was like, oh, I want to help the women now with the now what? Now they're feeling great. Okay, now what's actually possible? How much more limitless can we become? So I'm an extreme type of person. I'm very 0 or 100. So once I make a decision, I was like, okay, that's it. So if you were to even scroll back, it's like one day I was talking about this is going to help you with your bloating, and all of a sudden I just stopped talking about it. And so people were reaching out. They're like, I want to take this course. I want you to help me with bloating. I want you to do this. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. No, I'm not doing it anymore. And, for a lot of people, they'd be like, what? Like you put it down overnight, you were turning down tens of thousands of dollars of people who wanted to work with you. And I was like, no, like I choose my alignment first. It's alignment first always. And it was such a good decision. And I think me running into that so full force with like such conviction is the reason why it quote unquote like worked.
And that rollout plan, did you take a hiatus on Instagram to sort of clear out what that content adjustment and transition was going to look like?
No, I just stopped talking about bloating. The next day, I just started talking about something else. I had run money programs in addition to like the hormones and stuff. So I wouldn't say that like I hadn't run a money program at all. But I just like really shut down any health symptoms and amplified the business and the money stuff that I was doing. So there was no like, I didn't take a week off. I didn't go on and make an announcement video that was like, hey guys, I'm not doing this anymore. I just pivoted.
I love that.
I just don't feel like, why was I don't need to waste time like doing some sort of interim thing or like phasing it out. Like, why am I going to run slowly into my next level? If I know it's done, why am I going to waste energy phasing it? We're just going to switch, pivot, and let people evolve or fall away. And I had so many clients who've been with me since 2020 who evolved from the hormones and bloating who are now like having massive success in their business, which is beautiful. Some people fell away, which is perfect. Some people fell away and came back around, a couple of years later. And it was all wonderful. But I think the big thing for women is they get really scared to go all in on themselves. And they get really scared of like, well, what if the income dips? What if this happens? And to me, like, I'm obsessed. I'm a psychopath. It's going to work because I said it's going to work.
Yeah.
And we're just going to go it. And we're going to go with all of my heart. And it's not like from a hustle or grind. It's like, no, all of my heart is going into this. And when your heart and your passion is in it, it just works because why wouldn't it?
I love the energy, just hearing you and being in your energy right now of hearing you speak about the transition and how you help women. And I need to know, like, were you always entrepreneurial, or did you have a chapter of your life where you were in corporate, worked for someone else? Because working for yourself in hormones, bloating, how you're helping women then versus where you are now, you have such a amazing entrepreneurial spirit and energy of how you're talking about how you impact women.
Oh, first of all, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was actually asked this on a podcast the other day as well. And it's so funny. I can remember since I was young, I knew I couldn't work for someone else. So I've never been in corporate. I mean, yes, I like was a hostess and a server, university, but I knew then I was like, I hated this. I'm like, I cannot work for another human. I always knew it was going to be like me. I always knew I'd work for myself. Even in naturopathic school, when other people were thinking about, working in other clinics or working for someone else in their clinic or in their practice, I was like, no, it's going to be me and me. There's no rules. Like, I'm not going to have someone tell me where I need to be, when I need to be there, how much money I'm going to make. That all felt very limiting, constrictive to me always. I'm also a Sagittarius. I don't know if you're into that, but okay. I'm a Sag. So any kind of constriction or limitation is like a hell no for me. So yeah, I definitely always had the entrepreneurial, knew I was going to be my own boss, knew I wanted to do my own thing, because I like freedom.
Yeah.
I don't
Lifestyle
like limitations.
Design.
I don't like people telling me when I can do what I was never going to be like, I can only take 2 weeks off a year. Like that was never going to work for me. I'm just like not that type of human. I understand like some humans love that. I just knew for me that's not me.
Okay, we need to dive into the nervous system. I'm so excited because I had this exact conversation this morning with my trainer during my workout about regulated and dysregulated systems. So how do we know, or how do we identify if we have a dysregulated nervous system? What are some signs?
Well, any kind of physical symptom will be a sign. So if you struggle, again, we were talking about before, any kind of hormonal issues, any kind of energy issues, any kind of bloating, fatigue issues, any kind of like headaches or migraines, like the nervous system will always show up physically as kind of like the last resort. But it's also just this feeling of like anxiety, this feeling of being on edge, this feeling of the shoe is going to drop, this feeling of pressure in your system, the mind that can't shut off, like you're always running 100 tabs in your brain, this feeling like you need to people please, right? A lot of the dysregulation doesn't have to be just a panic attack. It's a fawn response, which is people pleasing or feeling like you need to bend to expectations of other people, feeling like you're at the mercy or someone else has like power over you. All of that are still subtle ways that your nervous system is dysregulated and operating behind the scenes in a way that's not going to allow you to like live your fullest potential.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to chat offline because there's some of those things there. I was like, ooh, guilty. Ooh, guilty. Okay, so those are great signs. Now, well, not great signs, but what would you do for even someone like myself? Like I very much always say I have so many tabs open in my brain and on my laptop because I'm a busy person. Like I have a lot of different things on the go all the time. And I've always been that way. And I do really love that. But I have become more aware of how does this impact my nervous system with being very novice in the world of understanding nervous system and dysregulation and how I can course correct. So if you are someone that just heard Liv share what it could look like from a symptom standpoint, what would be like the first step if someone wanted to know like, okay, how can I, get a hold on this and what can I do?
Well, first of all, like even with your tab example, it's less about if the tabs are open and more if the tabs are stressing you out and you can't close them at the end of the day. So, you have multiple businesses, you're doing lots of things. If you're calm and regulated, that's fine. You can have multiple tabs open. Is that stressing you out and is that keeping you up at night or keeping you from relaxing or keeping that like scattered feeling where your energy is scattered in a million places and you don't feel very calm, relaxed, and chill. So ask yourself, do I feel different either on the weekends if you're not working or on vacation than I do in my business? Then we have a problem because they should feel the same. You should have the same level of calmness and regulation. So the first thing you want to do is you really want to audit your life, which actually takes time to step back and look at, all right, where are the places where I am getting dysregulated and really start to identify, is it in my relationship? Is it in my business? Where in my business? Is it expectations on me? Is it money related? Is it responsibility related? Is it, I feel like I need to please all these people? Is it I feel bad when I get customer complaints or clients doing whatever? Really starting to see, what for me, because every person will be different, are these major things that dysregulate me, right? What are my triggers? And then we start to kind of plug those holes energetically so that those things no longer elicit a response in your system.
And do you recommend people do that like via meditation, journaling, talking to a coach, therapist?
I mean, you can even from this episode just sit down and audit for yourself. Most people are aware of where they're getting triggered. Now that it's such a talked about topic, they're like, oh yeah, I see that person emailed me, I got reactive. Oh, I see I went on Instagram, I see so-and-so is making this amount of money, I got reactive. Oh, my partner did this, oh, I can see I got reactive. Oh, my kids are doing this, I can see that I'm irritable. I can feel that I'm, yelling at them out of nowhere. So a lot of women I feel like are kind of semi-aware of where these triggers are happening and what's going on. But when you sit down and like make a list, like actually sit down, what am I, afraid of? Where am I getting reactive and triggered? Then you can start to see the patterns of where it's running your life. But if you don't sit down, then you're kind of just running in these patterns and in these loops unconsciously. So number one, you just have to become more conscious of the patterns. And when you sit down and list them all out like this, you'll be able to see, oh, I have a pattern with my business and money where I feel great when it's the highest month ever, but I feel like shit when it's not. Oh, I feel great when Instagram algorithm is validating me and I have all these likes. I feel shit when I'm not. Oh, I feel great when, I'm with this person. I feel horrible when I'm not.
I love this. Okay, so step 1, audit.
Yeah.
Step 2, go. like I'm here, I'm ready for the notes. So step 1, like what you were saying about, I think the Instagram algorithm, such a great example because I feel like that has been all over the place. And if you are someone who does need that validation with the number of views and comments and shares and what type of comments they are, how does someone heal that? How long does it take? If you are a now person, maybe if you are a dysregulated in a dysregulated state with your nervous system, I would imagine that's probably something you're not going to be as patient for to work through. So how would they get started to do that?
Well, they can actually start seeing change like right now, like tomorrow. You can start seeing change. I'm not someone like, oh, it takes weeks or months to heal, because that's just simply not true. The number one thing when you bring up the power aspect is you have to stop putting your power in those things. So stop checking. Number one, like in order to interrupt that loop and pattern, you're only aware of it because you're checking. So number one, you're gonna wanna detox that checking for at least a week, if not like a couple weeks of not creating content or not looking at that as the barometer for how you feel. But we can't get you out of that loop until you stop checking those things. Because right now, I like to say it's like an alcoholic in a bar, right? You're addicted to the alcohol. An alcoholic in a bar trying to resist alcohol is going to be very difficult. We need to get you out of the bar, i.e., we need to get you stop checking for likes, checking for validation, checking to see who's watched or if the person clicked the link and signed up yet, whatever kind of things you're tracking, to really detox also that dopamine from your system. Because this is what becomes very dangerous for entrepreneurs, is when you outsource your power to these things and you're relying on that dopamine hit to feel good, well, then what happens when it's not there? Then you feel like shit, and then your business is running on your mood, which is not what we want. So we have to detox that period. Without that detox period, you're like the alcoholic in the bar trying to resist. It's just way too hard, and you're giving yourself like an uphill battle. And even just with like the validation, there's also so much comparison out there these days. Like Susie just hit this income. Susie got this deal. Oh, she wrote a book. She's doing this. Comparing, to where you're at. First of all, you could be comparing your chapter 1 to her chapter 20. But even if it is, let's detox your system from doing all that first. Anchor you back into you, right? Because then when in that space, you actually have the spaciousness to plug back into your own power and your own energy. And then you'll actually remember who the hell you are. Like you're not less than Sally or Susie or Karen. Like you're just as powerful. You're just as amazing. But we can't do that unless we get you out of that environment that's going to do that. And Instagram is not bad. It's just about how we use it, right? So once we detox from that, we can then integrate that in where you have a healthy relationship with it.
I love that you said that. I was actually having this conversation with my makeup artist earlier today when it comes to the world of comparison and in the world of entrepreneurship that, I mean, absolutely, I look forward to achieving these goals, but I feel like if you are a high achieving individual and entrepreneur, you can't really expect to be on a yacht in Croatia with a Chanel bag and a Hermes scarf around your head in year one of business. You have to put in the reps and put in the years of grinding and working hard and maybe working long hours on the weekends and not expecting that you're going to have that right away, even though that's what you see on something like a social media, because that person has probably done that for 10 years or 15 or 20 years. Everyone's story is so different, but how do you feel in the world of the relationship between a beautifully healthy, balanced nervous system and something like social media?
When you don't actually have any dysregulation in your system, you're not going to be triggered by social media. So social media can be a great tool for reflecting back to you where you still have these wounds in your system of either not feeling enough or, feeling like someone else is better than you or giving your power away. It's actually a wonderful mirror, but what becomes kind of dangerous is that people then avoid actually looking at their triggers. They just sweep them under the rug and they don't actually deal with the nervous system. And then it keeps being a thing because, to be honest, you'll always find, even if you unfollow the people that trigger you, you'll see another Sally, Susie tomorrow that'll trigger you.
Right.
There'll always be, unfortunately, someone skinnier, richer, with more, like, it's just true. There'll always be someone, but that's not bad. And that doesn't make you less than. So when people avoid their triggers and they don't look at these things, then they go on social media and they feel less than versus going on it and being like, wow, possible for her, possible for me. Like, thank you for going first. Thank you for showing me that it's possible to have that kind of life or to make that amount of money or to achieve that kind of thing. Like, thank you. Wonderful. I am so glad that there is opportunity.
Absolutely.
So you'll just have a completely different relationship with it.
I love that. My husband and I talk about that a lot of certain accounts that I follow and things that I see. I'm like, I love this. This is so motivating for me. I'm so happy to consume their content and, take their advice or whatever they include in the caption and on their content as something that I want to use as fuel to do big, great things myself because it's inspiring. So going back to the world of nervous system dysregulation and that healing journey, Are there other things that we can do? You referenced earlier, like red light therapy, cold plunge, obviously like a beautiful diet that's super nutritious, movement. Are there other things that you would recommend people do if they feel that, already listening to this episode, that they can identify with themselves that, ooh, my nervous system needs a little TLC? What can they do to add on to, not only doing that audit and breaking the pattern where appropriate, but also adding some additional tools to their tool belt?
It's funny, and I don't, what I'm going to say is probably not what people want to hear, but it's what people need to hear, and it's going to be the truth.
It's a little controversial.
Too many people are looking for a hack or a tip for their nervous system that's something trendy and high vibe, but isn't actually addressing the root. If you actually want to exist as a regulated human, you have to look at those shadows. You have to look at those uncomfortable parts, and you have to be willing to. So it sounds simple as like slow down and look at those uncomfortable parts of yourself, but that's what the real work is. That's where the answer is going to be. That's how you dissolve it so that we don't need to manage your system anymore. So in terms of the tool, it's, can you spend more time in stillness and space with yourself and looking at these uncomfortable patterns and having the uncomfortable conversations about the relationships in your life or the patterns that are going on in your business, and getting really radically honest, and I like to use the term radical responsibility, of taking responsibility for, I don't have a solid relationship with money, or I don't have a solid relationship with my power or the algorithm or Instagram. I'm going to commit to change this by, take my power back and not outsourcing it there. Or I'm going to commit to relating to money differently. I think when people get trapped in these tips and tricks and too many trends that don't actually address the root cause, what they end up doing is they need a 3-hour morning routine just to feel fine. I'm like, we don't need 3 hours of a morning routine to feel regulated. If those things make you feel good, like I'm all for a slow morning. I don't hop into work at 7 a.m., but I don't need those things to feel regulated. And I feel like there's a lot of pressure for women of like, all right, I need to now, if I don't journal, in the morning, and then do my meditation, and then script for 10 minutes, and then do my cold plunge, and then do my red light, and then eat my colostrum, and then do this, well, then I'm not going to feel good. And I feel good for an hour, but then I get a customer service email, or someone asks for a refund, or Sally's made 100K on Instagram, and oh shit, now I feel like shit. All right, let me do all these things again. I'm like, why? That's not actually true regulation. Like, why don't we just exist in a regulated state so that you just feel calm and relaxed? Those things are amplified. They feel good to you. Wonderful, do them. But we're not relying on those things to feel good. And then we just feel peaceful. We make millions of dollars, and we just get to have fun. Like that's kind of like the whole point of it all. And so, like, if you're talking about like a tool in the moment, really allowing yourself to step back when you do that audit and think about, all right, what are the things I've actually been avoiding doing that I know I need to do, from a conversational standpoint, from a power standpoint, from a money standpoint? Because I guarantee if you were to sit down right now, there's things that you should be doing that you haven't been doing, that you're maybe trying to look for a quick hack or a quick, let's do, a quick meditation to tap or make ourselves feel better for 5 minutes, but you're going to end up having the same reaction in the exact same situation. And for me and the women I help, I want to give you freedom. I want you to not react to that situation again in the future, not just give you something to tap to feel better for 5 minutes.
I love the honesty. I am here for that.
I'm honest.
That is great. I hope everyone took notes on that or rewinding the episode to hear Liv say that again. Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this episode, it would mean so much to me if you took a few seconds and shared this on social media, sent it to a friend, or left a 5-star review. There is power in community, and I'm so grateful to have you part of mine.